Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of UA Eats. I'm UA, and I am in Montreal, Canada for a few days. Now, we've had a great few days here. We saw some cool sights, and we also ate some amazing poutine, which was way better than poutine we had back in the US. But before we leave Canada, we can't leave until we eat at a place called Schwartz's Deli, which a lot of people say is the best deli in North America, even better than Katz's Deli. Now, Schwartz's is interesting in that here they make a mean pastrami, but here in Canada they call it smoked meat. Or that might just be a Montreal thing. I hear in other parts of Canada they also use the word pastrami. Now, smoked meat and pastrami, it's pretty similar. I know some people will argue that they're very different, but from what I've read, it's relatively similar. Some people say that the cuts of meat they use are a little bit different, but they are very similar things. The one thing that is different though is that smoked meat in Montreal does use a bit of a different spice blend, so that kind of lends to a different kind of flavor profile. Another thing too is that apparently in Montreal, for many decades, they banned wood-burning smokers, so everyone in Montreal uses an electric smoker in restaurants. So because of that, you also have a different smoky flavor than you get with wood-burn smokers, but everyone says that the smoked meats in Montreal are really smoky in flavor regardless, hence the name smoked meat. So I love pastrami, it's one of my favorite things to eat. Katz's Deli is still my favorite. Some people in line told me that they much prefer 2nd Avenue Deli, which I like as well, but some people say that Schwartz's Deli is the best and better than all those, so let's find out. But until then, we're waiting in this long line, and it hasn't moved much in about 20 minutes, so hopefully we get inside soon. Alright, so these people overheard me saying that Katz's is the best, but they claim, what's your favorite deli?
2nd Avenue Deli. It's not on 2nd Avenue anymore, it's on 3rd Avenue in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, good stuff.
And not because it's kosher, it's just the best hot pastrami that I've ever had. And I've had Katz's as well.
Okay.
Katz's is great, 2nd Avenue's better, in my opinion.
All right, well,
we'll test this one now to see if this is number one.
All right. Okay, guys, so we are inside Schwartz's Deli, the legendary deli here in Montreal, and also one of the most famous and well-regarded Jewish delis in all of North America. Probably the world, to be honest. Now, this place bears some resemblance to Katz's Deli. Similarly, the Katz's Deli, along the whole wall, they have all these clippings, pictures with celebrities, newspaper clippings, really nice atmosphere showing off the legacy of this place. Although the difference between here and Katz's is that it is a much smaller space. Katz's is like this big, almost warehouse-like cafeteria-style space with loads of space for tons of hungry tourists and some locals to eat at. But here it's much smaller, so even on an off-peak time, we went on a weekday around 1:30. Even at an off-peak time, it's still going to be a pretty long wait just because they have limited capacity. I love the no-frills, non-pretentious vibe of the place though. They have a paper menu, but they also have an electronic menu, which is a better gauge of what the food is like, and also more of their top hits. Because of the shorter lines, the food comes really quick. You order a smoked meat and it comes almost instantly. And we also got some fries as well as some kosher dill pickles. Just by looking, the sandwich is already notably smaller than Katz's. The Katz's is humongous, but you get what you pay for. The Katz's is also almost 28 bucks now, while here at Schwartz's it's 14. It's stacked in a bit of an interesting way. Let's, oh no, actually it's just really thin, it looks like. So, all right, the legendary, whoops. We lost a big piece, but the legendary Montreal Schwartz's smoked meat sandwich. That's really, really good. Let's eat this piece here that fell into the pickles. Really, really tender. The thing just kind of like melts in your mouth. Like it comes apart, you don't even need to chew it. You just need to like move it around in your mouth and it just comes apart. Honestly, I can see why this place is talked about alongside Katz's Deli and 2nd Avenue Deli and all the great deli spots of the world, because it definitely holds a candle. Just because of how tender it is, like let me just show you how easily this comes apart. Like look, you barely touch it and it comes apart. Compared to pastrami, I think smoked meat is definitely a little bit different. It doesn't quite taste like pastrami. I would say it kind of tastes more like corned beef, to be honest. And I kind of thought it was going to have more of a pastrami taste because you see them taking the smoked meats out and you see like a very heavy spice coating on the outside. So I was expecting it to be similar to pastrami. This is more like corned beef, but I gotta say, it is excellent. If you like corned beef, you're gonna love this. Wow, I finished that first half in like almost no time. But before we devour the rest of this, let's break it down a little bit. So there's definitely some differences between this and the pastrami places in New York. And it's not just the size. I mean, here it's about half the price, so you're not gonna get as big of a sandwich as at Katz's, but it's still plenty large. Like I would say, price per pound, you're probably getting a better deal here just based on the volume of food for the price. I mean, this was only 14 bucks. As mentioned, a lot of people tend to compare smoked meat with pastrami. I don't think that's a fair comparison, at least at this Schwartz's place. I feel like this is definitely more like corned beef, both in flavor and in the way it just looks. Like one thing that pastrami tends to have is like a very beautiful seasoning rub on the outside, like a nice bark. Here you don't really have much of it, or maybe they trim it off or something, so the flavor is less spice ridden and more of the beef itself, more of like a cured or corned beef flavor. Another thing I gotta say about this place compared to New York places is that it's not quite as salty as those places. It really is not very salty at all, to be honest. Like I don't want to say bland because it has great fatty flavor and it's really tender. All that stuff really makes up for it. I do wish it could be slightly saltier. That's just my preference. So if you're like me, don't be afraid to add a little bit of salt. But if you're not like me and you don't want it to be as salty, then you might find it pleasant on its own. Another thing too is that with smoked meat, you can really pick your fat level. So I believe that one difference between pastrami and smoked meat is that smoked meat is made from a different cut, I believe, with varying fat levels. So people will either choose between lean, medium fat, and fatty. The person working here heavily recommended medium. He just flat out said it's better. So we went with medium, and I think it was the right call because the fat portion is perfect. I think if we had gotten fatty, it would have been a little too much, a little bit too fatty and too heavy. But here we have just the perfect amount of fat, and it really lets the more natural beef flavor sing while having some juicy fattiness. One more thing I want to say though, the mustard I probably prefer at the New York places. This kind of just looks like an average yellow mustard. I prefer more of the brown mustards, and some places will even make mustard in-house. So the mustard is not much to write home about, and I can't really taste it too much. It just looks like your standard yellow mustard from a bottle. So let's just say then, two really great sandwiches, Katz's Deli and Schwartz's. For my personal preference, I'm just gonna say I think I prefer Katz's. Even though this is medium fatty and still plenty fatty with the bits there, I think the Katz's pastrami is just fattier, and it's fattier in a more even way. At Katz's, the fat is kind of more even throughout. As mentioned earlier, this doesn't have much of a bark. I love that delicious seasoning you get at Katz's Deli with that spice rub bark. So I really love that spice rub there, so that's kind of lacking here. So I give Katz the win there as well. And at both Katz's and at Schwartz's, the bread is more average and the mustard is more average, but I give Katz the edge in both places there too. Better mustard and better bread. But this is still a very good sandwich, and as I mentioned, this is more similar to corned beef than pastrami. And if I were to compare the corned beef at Katz's to this smoked meat sandwich here at Schwartz's, I definitely give this place the edge. And the last thing I want to say is that this place definitely a better price. 14 Canadian dollars, about 12 to 13 US dollars, definitely more reasonable than the Katz's one, which is 20, almost 28 bucks at this point. Even if I might prefer the Katz's sandwich objectively, I definitely prefer this price and price to dollar ratio. Anyways, let's try the pickle before we head out. Really juicy pickle, let me show you. Just look at how juicy this pickle is on the inside. Just look at all that water. It's just such a delicious pickle filled with delicious vinegary brine. I do wish that they had kind of sliced it like at Jewish delis back home, like eating this straight up. It can be a bit of a mouthful, but if you're not weak like me, just take bites out of it. And if you're not lazy like me, just slice it yourself. Lastly, let's try one of their fries, which look hand cut and well fried. Really good fries. I think they're fried in like peanut oil, and they're oily and greasy, and I love them. They taste just like the fries that you use to make poutine. And in fact, they actually have poutine on this menu, so I think that's where it's coming from. To be honest though, one thing that's kind of consistent about this place is that the fries don't really have any salt on them, so they taste delicious in a crispy and greasy way. They are lacking a bit of seasoning, so just be prepared to salt your own food here. Maybe that's what they're going for. They want to let people adjust their own salt level, but it is kind of lacking some seasoning. But anyways guys, I think that's going to be it for this video. I'm really glad before leaving Montreal, I made sure that I had to stop at this place. Was it my favorite? I still give number one to Katz Deli based on my personal preference, but you may like it. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you've been to Schwartz's, let me know in the comments because great minds eat alike. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for this video. If you like my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. That way you stay up to date whenever I post another video. Until next time, I'll see you later.